Welcome to the deep dive. When you think about secret government files, maybe you picture X-Files type stuff, right? Well, today, we're kind of going there. We're digging into the FBI vault, specifically one document stack labeled UFO Part 1. And we did a deep dive focusing on this single, really unusual page from 1947. It's apparently from an FBI field officer, also a scientist, relaying this warning to the world.
Mhm.
And the source, described as supernormal. It gets into interdimensional beings, sure, but also this whole spiritual agenda. It's a lot.
And that date, 1947, that's really key for you to grasp here. This report pops up almost exactly when the Roswell incident was happening. Remember the FBI Dallas teletype, July 8th, 1947, about retrieving a flying disc?
Right, the one they initially called a weather balloon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what this source suggests is literally days after they picked up physical debris, there was already this other narrative inside the government basically saying, hey, you're looking at the wrong thing.
And that's the core of our deep dive today. We want to unpack these really bizarre claims on just one page, page 22 of that UFO Part 1 PDF. It's something former FBI agent John DeSouza highlighted. And it wasn't just some random note. It was addressed to scientists, military folks.
Suggesting it was meant for serious eyes, yeah.
Okay, let's jump into section 1. The nature of the real UFOs, according to this supernormal source, and who's supposedly flying them. The first big claim just completely shifts the usual conversation, doesn't it?
It really does, because it pivots immediately away from, nuts and bolts physics. The source insists the real UFOs aren't physical ships needing fuel or anything like that. They come from another level of reality, a dimension.
Another dimension.
Yeah, the document uses terms like the etheric or crossing an interdimensional veil. So forget Mars or another star system. Their origin point is supposedly a parallel reality right here alongside ours.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm getting this for you listening, what we see, whether it's a light or something that looks metallic, that's just these dimensional things sort of poking through, they can become physical, but only for a bit.
That's exactly the idea presented. They're dimensional travelers first. The report describes the craft itself as being made of some kind of plasma-type shifting material. It can cloak, too.
Plasma.
Right, and it shifts between forms, sometimes appearing metallic like a disc, other times becoming these energetic light orbs. The source calls them plasmoids. That light orb is suggested to be closer to their true form.
And they have this radiant energy that lets them just pop back into the etheric whenever they want. Okay, but if they're dimensional, who or what is inside? What about the crews?
The document's really specific here, which is interesting. It says the discs carry crews that look human-like, but then there's this huge catch. It explicitly states they do not come from other planets. So goodbye, classic alien visitors from space theory right there. Instead, it talks about an esoteric connection. It claims they've always been among humanity on planet Earth, which positions them as, well, ancient. Indigenous to Earth's reality in some way, not visitors from Alpha Centauri.
Wow. Okay. Always been here. That's a fundamental shift from visitors to something more like internal occupants almost. Okay, let's move to section 2 then, because if those plasma things are the real deal, what about the craft that do crash? That brings us to the grays.
Right, that's the immediate question, isn't it? If the main UFOs are non-physical, what were the U.S. and the Soviets picking up after crashes in the 40s and later? The source claims those craft, the ones you can shoot down, are run by the Greys.
The classic image of the alien.
Exactly, but the informant calls them the biologics.
Wait, hang on. Biologics. Let's unpack that term from the report's perspective. What are these grays supposed to be, according to this source?
Okay, this is where it gets really, really strange. The source describes the Greys as genetically modified spacesuits, but made of flesh.
Flesh spacesuits.
Yeah, suits that demon spirits can possess, essentially biological drones. Disposable bodies for non-physical entities to use to interact here.
Demon spirits.
That's the language used. The source leans heavily on a biblical interpretation here. It actually references Genesis 6, the idea of fallen angels, non-physical beings needing some kind of physical form to operate in our world. The Greys, or biologics, are supposedly their workaround.
It is genuinely startling to see that kind of theological interpretation inside what looks like, an internal government document from 1947. Let's pivot a bit to what the source material says about modern tech. Reverse engineering. It tries to connect these crashes from the 40s to stuff happening now.
Yes, exactly. The source basically argues that technology we see today, especially in advanced drones, got a jumpstart from reverse engineering these crashed, biologics craft. It even mentions the 2024 drone invasion incidents, those sightings of unidentified craft with blinking lights, doing things normal drones can't.
And the claim in this material is that those were man-made using this recovered tech, but not under normal military control. Is that right?
That's the deeply unsettling idea put forward. The source suggests the official U.S. military knew about them but couldn't fully control them, maybe because the tech was integrated in ways they didn't fully understand or sanction.
Okay.
And there's another layer the source adds, which is quite disturbing. It mentions reports that these drones were seen spraying some sort of mist, and it explicitly links this, in the source text itself, to fears of a deliberately staged COVID-like outbreak.
So connecting advanced drone tech with potential bioweapons. Wow, that leads directly into Section 3 then. If these things are happening off the books, who's really running the show and what's the end game, according to this warning?
Well, the report frames the orbs, the real craft, the plasmoids. It calls them Merkavas as alien or maybe fallen angel technology.
Merkava, like the mystical chariot.
Exactly, a vehicle of light in esoteric traditions. And the source claims the use of this tech isn't by the government, you see, but by black operations programs, run by corporations not beholding nor accountable to the U.S. citizenry.
But funded by our taxes.
That's the claim. Funded
Right.
by public money, but operating completely in the shadows.
Okay, so we've got shadowy corporations using dimensional light ships to ferry around demon-possessed flesh suits. According to this 1947 document, what is the grand plan here? Why do all this?
It frames it entirely spiritually. The ultimate goal is presented as the harvest of human souls. The document argues this has been Lucifer's goal since Adam, basically. It describes the human body as a kind of battery and the soul. Well, that's the power source they
A
want.
soul harvest? That's huge. I mean, how would they supposedly amplify or collect this energy?
The document claims it's about frequencies. The stronger the emotional or spiritual frequencies in a person, the more energy can be harvested. And what amplifies those frequencies the most, according to this source?
Let me guess.
Chaos.
Bingo.
Chaos, suffering, war, murder. These generate the maximum yield. And the source tries to make this contemporary. It connects things like mass psychosis, using the specific controversial term plandemic in this context, to deliberately creating a global fear factor. That fear supposedly raises the needed frequencies, allowing these entities, demons, fallen angels, in this framework to feast on the energy.
It's genuinely shocking to find language like feast on and demon spirits in relation to UFOs within an FBI document stack. Before we wrap up Section 4, we should quickly mention a couple of other things found in the wider source material, just for context.
Absolutely. It's important for you, the listener, to know that even the FBI was grappling with weird stuff. Like later on, in 1988, 2 FBI offices received this memo about Majestic 12.
Right. The supposed secret committee set up to handle alien tech recovery. But we have to stress, the Air Force investigated that specific MJ-12 document and concluded it was a fake, a hoax.
Crucial point. It was deemed bogus, but the fact it even circulated internally shows the kind of high weirdness and paranoia floating around, even decades later.
And going back to 1947, right at the beginning with Roswell and this Supernormal report,
Yeah.
there was already a strong push for secrecy, wasn't there?
Oh, definitely. Those early documents explicitly advise against letting the story get out to the mainstream media. Keep it contained.
Yeah.
Which tells you right from the start, the priority was suppression, especially for a narrative as wild as this one.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. We started with a single page in an FBI file from 1947, right around Roswell time.
Yeah.
And we've ended up with this narrative claiming the real UFOs are dimensional plasma beings.
Piloted by ancient, human-like entities who aren't from space.
Well, the crash grays are biological suits for demon spirits.
And there's all hidden operation, run by corporations, funded by us, aimed at harvesting human soul energy through engineered chaos.
Okay.
I think the most stunning takeaway for you listening has to be how this source completely reframes the entire phenomenon. We've spent decades looking up, searching for physical ships from other stars. But this document claims the real issue is ancient, it's dimensional, it's fundamentally spiritual,
Yeah.
and it's been tied up with humanity all along.
And the source ends with this really stark warning, doesn't it? Comparing our time to the days of Noah and Lot, suggesting, the beginning of the end might be unfolding. The fact that a government document, accessible in the FBI's own vault, claims this extreme blending theology, paranormal ideas, and intelligence, it just leaves you with a huge question mark.
It really does. If the true nature of UFOs, at least according to this incredibly strange strand of information, isn't about nuts and bolts technology, but about dimensions, consciousness, maybe even spirituality, what does that mean for how we're currently looking for them? Billions spent on SETI, on telescopes. Are we even looking in the right place or using the right tools?
That's the challenge this material leaves us with, I think. Are we searching for hardware when the answers might lie somewhere completely different? Something for you to definitely think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll explore more next time.